Hi, I'm Areej.
I'm Caitlin.
I'm Erin.
I'm Isabel.
And I'm Sarah.
And today we'll be presenting the best practices found in Ronald McDonald houses.
Imagine yourself as the parents of a sick child having to be flown out at 2 a.m. to a distant hospital. You have had no time to pack, you don't know where you're going to stay, or what you're going to eat. This is where Ronald McDonald House Charities come in. They help families with a sick child stay close together and provide them with a home to stay at while also easing financial burdens and delivering emotional support. The current problem that London RMH is facing is that it's having to outsource hotel rooms in order to adequately meet the needs of families. The solution to this is the construction of a new Ronald McDonald House in London, Ontario. Our aim is to identify the best practices that should be implemented within this new home. We do this by delivering a presentation as well as delivering a written deliverable.
For methods, to gather information for our project, we reached out to many different Ronald McDonald houses, both national and international. We spoke to staff, RMHC experts, and former RMH residents about their experiences at Ronald McDonald House. During these interviews, we asked questions such as what would you include in a new RMHC house and what is currently not working at the house. In addition to interviews, we conducted a survey to obtain direct feedback from staff, families, and volunteers about what was best about their house and things that could be improved upon. Some sample questions included, what would you like to see in a new Ronald McDonald house, and what is your favorite feature in the current house? Finally, when necessary, we conducted online research to gather well-evidenced proposals that would fix some of the issues the London RMH was facing. Some search terms included therapeutic environment, green wall, donor recognition, and intuitive design. When compiling our results, we decided to categorize proposals under 5 lenses in order to organize and present our findings. These lenses were staff, volunteer, family, donor, and cost effectiveness. Our full presentation for RMHC London included 28 proposals, so for class purposes, we have cut down our proposals to the most important suggestions for each lens. For the staff lens, our main focus was to create spaces that were functional and addressed infection control. Our proposals for this section included multi-purpose staff offices that could be converted into family rooms in order to increase house capacity when needed. We also recommended open concept administrative offices with large windows for increased visibility between staff and family. Finally, we recommended a spacious modern boardroom that could house the entire staff team.
From our research of both British Columbia and Yukon RMH houses, we proposed a large commercial kitchen containing 2 distinct work areas for volunteers. The presence of 2 independent kitchen spaces within one large kitchen in a future build will be beneficial for infection control and will also increase flexibility when recruiting volunteer dinner groups. Based on our research, we also suggested incorporating sight lines directly from the kitchen and into the family space to make volunteers feel more engaged. After speaking with the London RMH Family Services Coordinator, we realized that the volunteer space at London RMH was not properly utilized. For their future build, we suggested a small volunteer space with a separate entrance for volunteers so they can have a space to take breaks without disrupting families. Based on our research, we suggested incorporating modular digital lockers that would eliminate the need for physical keys. This system is more adaptable to fluctuating volunteer groups than the current key system.
During our first meeting with RMHC London, they offered us an analogy that really stuck with us. They said that a Ronald McDonald House should be a cross between Grandma's House, Disney, and the Ritz. Therefore, when we look through the family's lens, our proposals are grouped under each one of these headings. First, we have Grandma's House and the division of the house into smaller houses or branches of the same house. This division would facilitate bonding between the members of the same house while still centralizing other resources, and it is inspired by RMHC Vancouver's, where families are assigned houses based on their diagnosis and their anticipated length of stay, and each house is associated with a different animal. This creates a sense of belonging and pride, makes the house easier to navigate, and entices children. In terms of infection control, this division provides an entrance point to each individual house, limits bottleneck points, and because families and staff are already physically divided, it is much easier to implement social distancing measures. To bring Disney into the house, first we recommend 2 proposals that make the house more kid-friendly while decreasing the mental load on families. This includes associating each floor with a specific color on the walls or on the ground, and each room with a different animal on the door and on its walls. This way, families will know what floor they are on without even having to think about it. Likewise, it is much easier for families to remember the animal that they see every day on their door and in their room than it is for them to remember their room number, especially when the room numbers are getting higher. Next, we recommend featuring a kid-friendly map design at the front entrance of a new RMH to make children feel like they've truly entered Disney World and maintain the ease of navigation in a house that is much larger. In addition, a staff member at RMHC London indicated through a feedback survey that a resource is needed so that families are aware of all the amenities that an RMHC offers them. Lastly, in terms of accessibility, this resource could help individuals that face language barriers in the house by including visuals beside each feature on the map.
Kim Burgess in RMHC Madrid inspired this idea of wall games to engage children in waiting spaces around the house. This idea also provides us with an inexpensive alternative if we cannot create sightlines to play areas from parental spaces. From our RMHC feedback survey, we learned that people want to see an additional workspace included in the future house. We believe that this space could be very multifunctional, and these types of spaces reduce costs of construction and operation. It can be a space for parents and children to complete work, and a potential overflow area for staff to increase infection control. Sound damping materials were also looked at to reduce noise.
After exploring the important lenses of staff, family, and volunteer, we focused our research on cost effectiveness and donor recognition in order to make our presentation realistic. Based on our RMHC feedback survey, we realized that many individuals affiliated with RMHC want to see more green space incorporated into a new build. Using this survey result, one proposal we incorporated for cost effectiveness was an exterior green wall. Green walls have many long-term cost benefits based on energy savings for heating and air conditioning. In our donor lens, we suggested the initial cost of the wall be compensated using donations. We suggested many forms of this, as indicated on our slide. Based on our research, we included solar-powered lights in this area to ensure donor recognition is constantly visible. Our feedback survey also indicated that the current donor recognition at London RMH is too industrialized. Based on our research, we found that a donor tree placed in an area of prominence is the best practice for donor recognition. We suggested a large 3D tree as a way to incorporate recognition in an appealing way.
In conclusion, by implementing these practices within a new Ronald McDonald House within the Greater London community, we hope to provide families with the support they need and deserve. We believe that families with 6 children will benefit the most, as well as future RMHC builds in Halifax, Red Deer, Vancouver, as well as RMHC Global, while providing more volunteering opportunities for the general community, as well as donors. Future directions include obtaining feedback on our current proposals, as well as working collaboratively with partners and a construction team to come up with a final proposal, and reaching out to donors and sponsors, as well as finally building the house. I'd like to thank John and Gary for their support throughout the course of this project, as well as thank Kent for all his resources and guidance, and we'd like to thank anyone else that we interviewed. This is the conclusion of our presentation. Thank you so much for listening.